LUISA CALDWELL graduated from University of Iowa with degree in Bachelor of Arts History and BFA in Sculpture program. Caldwell creates drawings, sculptures, collages, and installation arts, as well as she used reclaimed materials into her artwork such as curtain call that was made from candy wrappers. Some of Caldwell's exhibition and projects have been presented at such venues as SMAC Mellon Gallery in Brooklyn, University of Iowa Hatcher Auditorium, and Long Island University Humanities Gallery, as well as temporary and permanent art projects at East 180th Subway Station Mosaics. Caldwell's most recent residency took place in St. Petersburg, Russia, as part of CEC Bank apartment residency. Hello and welcome to Persona Grata. I'm its host, Anastasia Adruzova, and today our artist is LUISA CALDWELL. LUISA, welcome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Tell us about international art organization CEC Art Links. Are you a member there? Tell us a little more about it.
Well, CEC Arts Link is an international organization, nonprofit, that takes pairs United States artists with organizations in Russia, Central Asia, and Eastern Europe, and vice versa. So are amazing at their programming and how they've invited me 3 different times to Russia. So when I was there recently, it was my 3rd time with this organization. So what's really great about them is often nonprofits have their mission is to help artists, but to continually to offer them opportunities is really unique and very beneficial to the artist, because it creates a more lasting, real relationship rather than like, well, I knew them then, you know, that one time. So I feel very fortunate to be linked with CEC Arts Link.
9 years ago, for the first time, you visit Krasnoyarsk, Russia, and with international organization CEC Art Links at the museum center where you conducted a workshop. What was your experience like? Share it with us.
It was amazing. Krasnoyarsk is a quite sophisticated big city. I did not know what to expect, never having been to Russia before, let alone Siberia. And in American culture, often Siberia is used as, well, a metaphor for being out in the middle of nowhere, like being sent to Siberia. So I was really pleased and surprised to learn what a big, sophisticated city it is, and the people that I worked with. So I was there to lead a workshop with volunteers from the community. The average age was 20 to 22. They weren't necessarily artists, but they came from lots of different fields, but they wanted to participate and engage on the community level. So in my method of site-specific public art using reclaimed material, we covered an entire building with reclaimed. They were actually advertisements advertising a traditional wood structure that can be bought, like prefabricated and then installed. So it was rather perfect because it was very typical of the region, and we were covering a building and it was advertising buildings. But these kids were so smart, so sophisticated, so well spoken. They spoke perfect English without ever having visited an English-speaking country. So it was so eye-opening as far as what I didn't know about Siberia. And the countryside is very beautiful, you know, forested, immense swaths of land, and that I find very reassuring. You know, living most of my life in a big city, to be around such nature was really, really, again, eye-opening and reassuring to know that there is nature left in the world.
Have you met any new young artists that you might want to work with in the future?
Well, I have actually, and I want to do a plug for CEC Arts Link in that they have an application coming up due December 9th, I believe. So if any interested artists or arts organizations out there are interested in working in Russia, Central Asia, or Eastern European, please go to their website, cecartslink.org. Yes, I'm hoping to go back next year. It's an application process. I have to go through the application like everywhere else, but there's a group in St. Petersburg called Parasite, which is the most democratic organization for artists, because bi-monthly they have a open salon where artists, any artist from the highest level success of the artist to the person who just paints on Sunday, bring their work in and they're critiqued by the group. So I would like to do a project with that group, because I feel that the CEC's mission is to link social practice to be more than just an artist alone in their studio, but how to outreach, how to bring art to the public. So I feel like this organization, this group would be a perfect group to work with. So knock on wood that they want to work with me as well.
Wish you all the best, and I hope you will.
Oh, thank you.
While you were there, you saw ballet Giselle and you had a tour of the mountains. Did Giselle and the mountains inspire you for any of the artworks?
Well, actually, yes. So my proposal, my project in St. Petersburg was to study traditional Russian folk art, because my own work is often pattern and decoration based, which draws from motifs from tradition. So it all sort of comes from the folk art, you know, that kind of, not primitive, but a certain stylistic sensibility that isn't like high palace art. It's more things you see like on the dachas, you know, the beautiful filigree woodwork. So yes, it does influence my work, the folk art. I mean, for instance, the curtain I did at Palyenova, if you notice, the bottom is trimmed in a traditional pattern that is actually taken from the House Museum, an element from the House Museum that was from a former exterior of a house, so that it all channels into my work. That so yes, it's very important, the forest and the folklore and fairy tales.
Oh, wonderful. In 2018, you went to St. Petersburg for Art Prospect Festival, where you created a food pyramid from recycled products as part of the festival film. What inspired you to do your pyramid?
It was the theme of the festival. Every year it's different, and the theme for last year's Art Prospect was Food for Thought. So I was invited to participate because in some of my installations I like to use a lot of reclaimed materials, including candy wrappers, which some of the Russian Krupskaya are the most beautiful. So I had collected them even before I had gone to Russia. In that vein of where I like to work with reclaimed materials, I proposed to do a food pyramid made of food packaging. So I filled my suitcase here in New York with cereal boxes, potato chip bags, you know, chocolate bars. Like, it was ridiculous. I hardly had any room for clothing. I took recycled products, you know, packaging. And then over there, I went to a designated recycle center, which is really interesting because in Russia, mandatory recycling has not taken hold yet, but many people do it on their own. So it was really, really interesting to meet people who were thinking a little bit more progressive in the environmental department, who bring every Saturday their old cereal boxes, their cardboard, their pizza boxes, and it was so nice because many of them had young children. So I like that is, you know, setting an example for how to deal with garbage, you know, our excess garbage in the future. So yeah, I made a food pyramid, again, out of food packaging, and then, well, what can I make that can be a nice big graphic image for this festival, festive yet informative? The classic food pyramid, you know, which is divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections with the sweets at the top, because that's the one you're not supposed to eat the most of, and then fruits and vegetables on the bottom, because that is the most important.
Do you eat healthy yourself?
Well, I do. I try to. Just that much sugar, that much sugar. I try to, I do. I think it's important, you know.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So do you have a sweet tooth yourself? Do you like candies? Have you tried any of the Russian candies with sweets?
Oh, yes. In fact, I don't know. I mean, I probably put on 5 pounds in Russia because I love the chocolates. The famous, my Russian, Alenke?
Alenka.
Alonka.
Yes, I love
yeah,
that one.
the little girl with the scarf.
Yeah.
They're so delicious. And then there's the ones, I mean, I can tell you, with the squirrels, with the polar bears, also with the 3 little bears. They're all from that same Krupskaya company, which I think, if I believe, was begun by Lenin's wife, historically, I think in the 30s. I don't think it's in the family any longer, but that is the history behind that big, you know, very important national Russian sweets company. So yes, I do love Russian sweets. They're really good. The chocolate-covered plums and, oh, don't get me started.
It's okay, I love sweets myself, so I can talk for hours about that.
Oh yeah, what do you like?
Oh my God. I like a lot of Russian different sweets. I'm a fan of the chocolate. I do like international chocolates too from different countries, but just like I said, Alenka or Три медвежонка, like the 3 little bears, those are really good ones. I love them. I can sit and eat them for hours and they're piled up in a little bag.
Oh, I do. Well, save the wrappers for me because that's my excuse. Like I came back with a big bag of candy wrappers.
Okay.
So I'm always traveling with garbage.
Okay, that'll be perfect. I'll know that. This year you've been part of the CEC ArtLink's Bank Apartment Residence in St. Petersburg. Tell us a little more about this program.
Oh, it's a wonderful program. Well, so it's a research grant. So I was not required to actually make anything, though I do draw every day. I drew a lot. We're put up in the most beautiful apartment right in the center of historic old St. Petersburg on Rubinstein Street. And it's really interesting because it originally was a cooperative apartment that then they joined 2 apartments, and the person whose apartment, who is the patron, has furnished it with the most beautiful antiques, all of the Russian tradition. So I'm there to study traditional Russian folk motifs and art, and then I'm in a room which is just filled with beautiful painted furniture and beautiful rugs from the Caucasus, and so I was in heaven just in my bedroom, and then let alone to go out, and it's really wonderful. They pay for everything. They give me a stipend of $1,000, which goes a long way in Russia. And I was able to visit museum after museum. I did a count. I visited 17 museums and palace museums, 11 contemporary art galleries. I went to a ballet there as well. I saw Petrushka, which is also a folkloric-based ballet. I went to the National Forest, which starts with an L, that was began by St. Peter the Great because it had the tallest, most straightest larch trees that were used for making masts of ships to increase his ship, his navy. What else? I did so much, that's a lot, right, in a month?
When you said you were in that apartment and it was filled with the folk, like tools and all sorts of arts, what was your favorite? Because Russian history of folk is so big and it goes so back far. What was your favorite folk art piece?
Well, that's a good question. I never, as much as I tried to study it, I never really got to the root of where it all started. But there was this beautiful, beautiful wardrobe, with just with a slanted, so there's cabinets down here, and then there's a slanted area, and then a cabinetry on top, but just painted with a symmetrical little flower motif. That was lovely. Oh, what were really beautiful? The chests. There were these chests all over the house that were just hand painted loosely but symmetrically. This is interesting. I took a Matryoshka doll painting class, and it's a brand new museum not far from the State Museum of Russia in St. Petersburg, and they teach you how to paint Matryoshka dolls in traditional painting styles. So I was actually able to learn some of the actual techniques on how to paint like that, which was really fun. And you know what I learned? While it looks very simple and repetitive, and some of it's even more primitive, it is not easy. Those artists, even 100 years ago, were very skilled at that. So yeah, I loved it all. I have no favorite.
Did you know that actually Matryoshka, even everyone usually say like stereotypical things about Russia, Matryoshka is one of them. Did you know that it's actually came from China? It's not traditionally Russian piece?
Well, isn't that interesting?
Yes.
How do you suppose it became so popular in Russia and just kind of co-opted by Russian culture? Everyone thinks it's Russian.
True. I think, you know, we're neighbors, and I think every country that is a neighbor, they adopt a little bit. Just over time, I guess it became more Russian than the Chinese.
Interesting. Well, you know, maybe it's because of so many of the forests, so much wood available, you know, that they still, I mean, yes, very popular, very popular. And it's fun how it creeps into contemporary and commercial culture. I saw some little Matryoshka doll magnets with emoji faces.
Mm-hmm. That's a modern way to.
Yeah, exactly.
In earlier conversation, you said you like Russian contemporary artists. Tell me, who is your favorite Russian contemporary artist?
Alexander, who represented the one of the representing artists at the Venice Biennale this year. It was really exciting because I had gone in May to see the Venice Biennale, and I went to the Russian pavilion and loved the work because he did this complete immersive puppet theater with these giant wooden mechanical figures that would dance, go up and down, and the walls, the floor, they were all covered with traditional Russian motifs. So I loved that stuff. And then I happened to meet him in St. Petersburg. He actually goes to the Parasite group on occasion. I think that's amazing because I don't think that would happen in New York. So I like that people are like still really engaged on all levels. You know, even this, you know, super successful artist will go to this salon sometimes and talk and look at work of people who are not very well known. So I love him. I love Peter Shvetsov. He's an amazing painter and installation artist and performance artist. He's doing wonderful work on all genres. I did a studio visit with a young artist named Zhenya Mancheva, who I didn't know at the time actually was in a very important show here in New York last year at the New Museum. And she has the most beautiful studio. I had to climb stairs to enter this beautiful little studio, all painted white, all wood, and even at the end, one wall was like, it wasn't flattened, it was rounded wood, and she's a weaver. And she had these big looms in her studio weaving giant tapestries, but of machinery. Like the imagery isn't what you expect. It's machinery and cogs and things you find in a machine. It's not like flowers or things that you expect in weaving. It's traditional but non-traditional. So I met so many really fantastic artists. You know, and in fact, Lisa, I know her name, Peter Bailey and Lisa Montenava are here in New York this week for Performa and hosting a show at Mishkin Gallery here in New York, which opens on Thursday night. So go check it out if you want to see some contemporary Russian artists in action.
Perfect. When you meet those artists, did you have a chance to collaborate and maybe create a little piece of art with them?
No, but I hope to. I think that is my approach for going back. It's like I want to, it was fun to go look I looked at a lot of old art, I looked at a lot of new art, but the next time I go back, I want to participate. And while I participated at Art Prospect last year, I want to do it again, collaborate. I'd like to actually work with some Russian artists.
This autumn, as part of Palenova art program, you visited the House Museum of Artist Palenova. Autumn in Palenova inspired you to create your curtain art piece. What future does this art piece has? Did you left it there? Did you bring it here?
I did leave it there. They were so nice. They asked, well, we agreed that if I left it there, they could use it again, possibly they do a beautiful program for the local school kids. It's only the local children, public school children are invited to go to Palenova for Christmas. They put in a big Christmas tree, they have a Christmas pageant. They even have horses and a sleigh where somebody dresses up like Santa Claus and they come in, they look out the window of the main big room that looks onto the river, and then they see a horse and carriage and Santa coming up. I mean, it's beautiful. And they might use my curtain for that event. And they also have an outdoor theater that is very active all summer, so they can use the curtain for that. So I was very happy to leave it there because it was very much made for Palenova. So now I'm in their collection.
Palenova Air program invited you to come back and create permanent art piece. What does that mean? Will it stay at Palenova Museum or will it go somewhere else?
Well, so we're in negotiation. I think it's okay if I mention this, but the current director, Natalia Palenova, there's a new extension being added to an old house. There's many old structures on the grounds, former estate, and now it's a national park. I think there might be 22 structures, and they're renovating one, and there's going to be a solid exterior wall that it needs a mural. So I've been invited to think and possibly paint a mural there, and I hope to do that. So that would be a permanent piece.
One of your past artworks, I saw a collage of Matryoshka, and you call it Me Tushka. How is this exactly got inspired your work? Like, how did you come up with that idea?
I love Matryoshka dolls. And you know, I'm not the only one. I think they're popular for a reason, right?
True.
Well, so there's an old saying that all artwork really for an artist is self-portrait. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, we hadn't actually met then, but if you look at the faces, they're caricatures of me. So I made them into me. And then it's a little bit of a play on the hashtag Me Too movement, trying to be feminizing, being feminist. You know, it's like, well, Me Tushka, but you can still wear nice dresses and stuff and still have a strong female identity. So it's just, a play on words and using motifs that I really like from Russian culture.
Perfect. That's very interesting and very in-depth explanation. I like that.
I know, for a simple collage.
Still, I mean, if that's how you see it, that's how you see the art. You visited Krasnoyarsk. It's in Siberia, Russia. You visited the second capital of Russia, St. Petersburg. What is the most brightest impression you had from Russia?
I had only good experiences everywhere I go. That it's a very welcoming, friendly country, and I can't wait to go back.
I love to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love one of your art pieces that you did from candy wrappers, and as you said earlier, oh, please save some candy wrappers. So I found all those candies for you. You said you like the 3 bears, and you said you like, it's somewhere here, Alyonka.
Oh, Alyonka.
So I have both of them. So next time, if you use those candy wrappers, I hope you're gonna remember about our program. So.
Oh, of course.
Thank you so much.
Oh, spasiba. Большое спасибо.
You're welcome,
Thank you
Luisa.
so much. This is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, see, so welcoming.
Thank you. Thank you for watching Persona Grata. Today we had artist LUISA CALDWELL, and I am Persona Grata host Anastasia Adler. I will see you next time.